Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome back to our study session of the teaching of Hakuin. Rather, I should say, the writings of Hakuin on Kensho. Kensho meaning awakening or insight and knowledge. What is more accurately described as Sarvajnata or all-knowingness. A complete definition of what it is to be fully enlightened, in which Hakuin says there are 4 ways of knowing, meaning there are 4 different and distinct recognizable levels of knowing, each leading to the other, and when one reaches the 4th stage of complete knowledge, then such a person will not have rebirth. He would have dissolved all the samskaras or the impressions of the storehouse consciousness or alaya vijnana. So we read through 2 stages, we read through the definitions of those 4 and then entered into describing more in detail about the perfect mirror knowingness, which is actually the first stage, culmination of the first stage, wherein one recognizes oneself to be a spirit disconnected from this body-mind, and to reach to that stage, Hakuin explains that the most important thing is the faith or will or determination, and based on which you practice, and one reaches and intensifies the interest to come to know this oneself of all, and the intensity is the main factor, the result of which is that one completely disidentifies with the world and comes to a great doubt or an intensified pursuit of who the seeker is, who the seer is, hearer is, and so on. And finally, he calls it a stage of crystal realm, a crystalline realm, where rest all is like a dream. And following that, we recognize the equality, meaning one being equally in all the objects of the world. And the 3rd stage, wherein discrimination, knowledge of differentiation, discriminating principles or discerning principles by the light of the true awareness is the way of knowing the differentiation. So it is the governing principles of how the beings are born and travel through this cycle of samsara, and then finally what is their destiny based on the karmas, and how the phenomena take place, etc., etc. The fundamental principles based on which the manifestation, it is not simply the principles of gravity, etc., as we talk about, but it is a grand and final principles of the subtle world in which this manifestation appears based on those principles. Understanding of those. And finally, the perfection of action. So the perfection of action means that this knowledge is not disjoint from the way of working of the manifestation. So here the individuality is totally dissolved and the actions happen in conformity, in tune, in harmony with the universal flow of action reaction, not being owned by particular individuals as if they are doing it, and they recognize that everything is happening because of the control or presence of the oneself, which is the Dharmakaya. And from there on, of course, we went into this and attainment of this perfect mirror, which is the true self. Attainment of knowing of the true self is the perfect mirror knowledge. Perfect mirror. Because there are no defects and it is pure and unconditioned. Now here we are, and then we were talking about one very important statement which it came by, said, as a newborn child of Buddha, the new Bodhisattva will reveal the sun of wisdom of the awakened nature. He reveals the awakened nature, but even so, the clouds of his former actions will not have yet been cleared away. So clouds of the former actions are not cleared away yet. Means the seeds of the alaya still exist. Because, now continuing, because one's power in the way is weak and one's perception of reality is not perfectly clear, the great perfect mirror wisdom is associated with the easterly direction and called the gate of inspiration. Easterly direction, it is the direction in which the sun rises. So to mean it that way. Easterly direction and called the gate of inspiration. So the awakening, for the first awakening, is called gate of inspiration. It is like the sun rising in the east. Yeah, it comes here. Although the mountains, the rivers, and land receive the sun's rays, they are not yet warmed by its light. Although you may have seen the way clearly, if your power of shining through is not strong enough, you may be blocked by inherent and chronic afflictions and will still not be free and independent in both agreeable and adverse situations. So this is what it is. Even though one is aware of the presence of a universal self, if that insight is not strong enough, then that person may still be blocked by inherent and chronic afflictions. So the chronic afflictions of one's mind that have existed from eons will continue to exist if the realization or the insight or the seeing through the clutter and seeing clearly the self is not strong enough, and if it is weak, then these inherent and chronic afflictions will block that understanding. You may be blocked by inherent and chronic afflictions and will not be free and independent in both agreeable and adverse situations. So when the events that happen in life are agreeable to us and when they are not agreeable to us, in both conditions, okay, in both conditions, one does not still feel free, in spite of knowing, even by a direct glimpse, that one is a free self, but still the events still seem to control us, causing pain and discomfort or elation in terms of agreeable situations. So one has not really lost raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha means likes and dislikes. The tendencies which reflect as raga and dvesha, or likes and dislikes, would not simply wane away. So they will still, the person experiences his knowledge being blocked by these raga dvesha, which are the inherent and chronic afflictions. This is like someone who has been looking for an ox and who may one day see through to the real ox. But if he doesn't hold the halter firmly to hold it in check, it will sooner or later run away. So, so what it means is that one has reached the clear self, but still the clear self doesn't seem to be in control. Our previous previous habits seem to control and cause us discomfort and dis-ease in the present situation, in spite of the previous the knowledge that one has got. This is a very well accepted thing. For example, we very commonly come across this quotation from the Devi Saptasati, Durga Saptasati. Says, Jnaninamapi chetamsi Devi Bhagavati sa balad akrishya mohaya mahamaya prayachyati. So even the wise people, well-informed people, are dragged in by the power of this maya, or the ignorance causing Devi. So they still are under the grip of this maya. Once you have seen the ox, make ox herding your only concern. What he's saying is, one very interesting statement. Once one has put in whatever practice is needed, has come to this most important step of the gateway of inspiration, that is, they are able to see the self once, he says, make ox herding the main concern. Meaning, only the self that you have realized, make that as your single focus and don't get back into worldly affairs. If one gets back into worldly affairs, then ultimately whatever knowledge is only for the namesake, but they have not really penetrated to the depths of this consciousness. It's a very interesting thing. Once you have seen the ox, make ox herding your only concern. Means only the self should be your concern, not the world. We see this happening maybe 99.99% of the time, where somebody may have a breakthrough, but as they are involved in the worldly affairs, this breakthrough is as if never even happened. So that's how they live the remaining life. But they never become perfected human beings, as we call samyak sambodhi, complete enlightenment. They don't reach. So that should be only concern for a man who is able to make through this breakthrough. Next. Without this practice, after awakening, Many people who have seen reality miss the boat. Very interesting. Therefore, to reach knowing of equality, do not linger in great perfect mirror knowing. To reach that second stage of knowing equality, to facilitate that so that it happens, do not hang simply with the knowing of the perfect mirror stage, which is simply awakening. Without the practice, without this practice, after awakening, many people who have seen reality miss the boat. Therefore, to reach knowing of equality, do not linger in great perfect mirror knowing. Go on and on. Concentrate on practice after awakening. Concentrate on practice after awakening. For example, what is this practice here? Earlier on, we were trying to see who is the um, host of seeing, host of listening, etc. So we come to an I, and then we suddenly, by the intensity of that, one has opened up a new vista and come to this self-awakening. Now, still persist. For whom is this awakening? For whom is this awakening? Because earlier you said, I am the seer. Now I say I am awakened. Now, for whom is this awakening? So that should be the next question of continuing to reach out to the holder or the host of any knowledge, host of knowledge. Now here there is a host of this knowledge. So the question will be to reach that host in its essence. Next, concentrate on the practice after awakening. Go on and on. Concentrate on practice after awakening. So very important thing. Next section, the gate of practice. The gate of practice. Because he said, continue to practice. What is the gate of practice? First, with the intimate perception which you have had into knowing itself, enlighten all worlds with radiant insight. First, with the intimate perception which you have had into knowing itself, enlighten all worlds with radiant insight. Meaning, this awareness that has awakened, one expands into the entire universe. Expands means we see this very beautifully described even in the Chandogya Upanishad, where there is 4 meditations taught, and in the case of Satyakama Jabala is instructed by various divine beings like fire god and so on into 4 different meditations. I am the radiant one, I am the all-pervading one, etc. There are 4 different meditations being taught. This is what he's talking about. Means imagining oneself to be expansive and not just a knower free from this body, but I am expansive. So imagining that expansiveness, understanding. Enlighten all worlds with radiant insight. I am the radiant being. I am the light of the worlds. That is a kind of a meditation taught even in the Chandogya Upanishad, where Satyakama Javala was instructed about this particular one. And also in the Chandogya there is another very important section where this particular meditation of a radiant being will be taught, which is finally the meditation is called Vamani Resha Bhamani Resha. So most pleasing. So the self is the most pleasing. So meditate on that being a pleasing self I am. some kind of a meditation, number one. Bhamani Resha, this is the radiant being I am. So those two meditations, it is concluded in Chandogya Upanishad that if one practices these two meditations of Vamani Resha, Bhamani Resha. So the self is meditated as these two, pleasing self and a radiant self, then they will be liberated. And this is the only way for liberation as per Chandogya Upanishad as well. Enlighten all worlds with radiant insight. When you see something, shine through it. When you see something, shine through it. When you hear, shine through what you are hearing. Shine through the 5 skandhas: form, feeling, perception, will, consciousness. Of course, they can be differently worded, but I am not by Rupa Skandha, Vedana Skandha, Mano Skandha, then Samskara Skandha, and finally consciousness or Vijnana Skandha. So the 5 heaps means a grouping of various experiences one has into these 5 heaps. So those 5 skandhas. So it means what he is talking about is, because when he mentioned about this idea that this person is still not free, because alaya vijnana is there, the storehouse consciousness, even that also should be seen through. That even these are not real entities with their own power. Only with the power of the self they manifest. With the dharmakaya they manifest. So that is why he is saying here that all these ideas that we have about the Rupa Skandha, Rupa Skandha means all the 5 indriyas that we have, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. So the objects corresponding to them are not really independent entities. They have no inherent self of their own. They are mere appearances. There are no such objects in this world, but they are mere appearances. So the self is only one which I am. So one has to see through that. So that's what this practice is suggesting. When you see something, shine through it. When you hear shine through what you are hearing. Shine through the 5 skandhas: form, feeling, perception. Perception here would mean that any thought, any idea that arises in the mind, you see it. You see it's arising, staying and disappearing. So there is nothing permanent about it. So perception, will, what he is calling here as a will is basically samskaras. And then concentration, consciousness or vijnana. Okay. Shine through the 6 fields of sense perception. 6 fields of sense perception. What are they? In front, behind, left and right, through even calamities and 8 disasters. Become one with the radiant vision of the whole body. Radiant vision of the whole body. See through all things, internal and external. Shine through them. When this work becomes solid, then perception of reality will be perfectly, distinctly clear. Just like looking at the palm of your hand. Just like looking at the palm of your hand. Means somebody is taking their stand in the awareness, in the consciousness, and seeing through the complete gamut of human experience as distinct from one's own awareness. So that's what is this. Just like looking at the palm of your hand, means they should be seen as objects separate from myself, so distinctly clearly. At this point, while increasing the use of this clear knowing and insight, if you enter awakening, then shine through awakening. So you see, now awakening itself is to be shined through. At this point, while increasing the use of this clear knowing and insight. If you enter awakening, then shine through awakening. If you get into agreeable circumstances, then shine through agreeable circumstances. If you fall into adverse situations, then shine through adverse situations. When greed or desire arise, shine through greed and desire. When hatred or anger arise, shine through hatred and anger. When you act out of ignorance, shine through ignorance. When the three poisons of hatred, greed, and ignorance are no more. When the three poisons of hatred, greed, and ignorance, avidya, kama, karma, as we say in Sanskrit, are here it's saying raga, dvesha, and avidya. Avidya, raga, dvesha. These are the three: ignorance, greed, and hatred, raga, dvesha, are no more, and the mind is pure. Means mind being pure means when raga, dvesha, and avidya or ignorance are totally gone. Means when one is established well in awareness. If one is not established in awareness, but they associate themselves with the body, then they are in ignorance. So the practice, what is suggested here, should continue until one is firmly established in the awareness and not coming back, catching the body as if its own. Okay? When the three poisons of hatred, greed, and ignorance are no more, and the mind is pure, shine through that pure mind. Shine through that pure mind. Means even that mind is illumined is to be illumined at all times, in all places, be it desires, senses, gain, loss, right, wrong. Visions of Buddha are of dharma, even of visions of gods are different phenomena. In all things, shine through with your whole body. Shine through with your whole body. What is the whole body here? Whole body of awareness. So shine through with the whole body of awareness. Or you can say whole body of human experience here, including the solid body to the subtlest of the subtlest things. If you do not fall back, the karma created by your former actions will dissolve naturally. So only when all the mental phenomena which are stored in the storehouse consciousness are seen through, then they become free of the past karma. If you do not fall back, means if you do not fall back from the body of awareness into this tangible body, as if you are the tangible body, if you don't fall back like that, then the karma created by your former actions that you have done owning as an individual, either in this life or in the previous births, they all will dissolve even naturally. You will be liberated in a way that cannot be imagined. So this is what is the liberation. Liberation from the past karma. Okay. The way you act will conform to how you understand. See, this is a very important statement. Here now the way you act will conform to your understanding. If somebody has stopped working at the perfect mirror knowledge, perfect mirror knowing, then what will happen? Then the actions are not in conformity to understanding. But if they work through further with all the mental phenomena and discover through and shine them through the awareness, and the karmic actions are dissolved, then now you will conform to how you understand. Actions will come to conform to understanding. Host and guest will merge completely. Host and guest will merge completely. Host and guest will merge completely. If you remember, the word host was used. Who is the host of seeing? Who is the host of seeing? So there was a split. Now that disappears. Body and mind will no longer be two. Body and mind will no longer be two, and what you are and the way you appear will not obstruct each other. What you are and what you appear. You appear as this solid body with a mind, etc. But what you are is an unconnected awareness. Now, at this stage, having identified completely with awareness, now what you are and the way you appear will not obstruct each other. They will not obstruct each other. Earlier there was a conflict. There was a conflict. Now that conflict is gone. They won't obstruct each other. Body flows on its own. And awareness is just a witness of that. Getting to the state of true equanimity is called knowing equality at the nature of reality. As the nature of reality. Knowing equality as a nature of reality. Knowing equality as a knower of reality. Equality is the nature of reality. That you come to know. This way of knowing is associated with the southerly direction and called the gate of practice. This is the gate of practice. It is like when the sun is in the south. Its light is full and brings light to all the hidden places in the deep valleys, melting even the most solid ice and drying the ground however wet. So here he is referring to, because this level of clarity will dry up the samskaras or the impressions of the alaya vijnana. So alaya storehouse is cleared up. Although a bodhisattva has the eye to see reality, that is Kensho, even though the bodhisattva has the eye to see reality, Kensho, unless you go through this gate of practice, you cannot clear away obstructions brought about by affliction and actions, and therefore cannot attain to the state of liberation and freedom. So this is what it is. So at the first stage, awakening and coming to know or understanding that there is one self of all, which I am, which is not connected to the body-mind, is Kensho. But if one stops there and does not see through all the objects or all the dharmas, all the phenomena, and shine them through, and through all the 5 heaps, okay, of the 5 skandhas, then the samskaras still remain. So the person will not be free, will not be liberated completely. So only when this second stage of clarity or equality is achieved, the knowing of equality is achieved, then he attained to the state of liberation and freedom. What a pity that would be. What a loss. So he's saying, if somebody by dint of their practice have awakened but have not come to this stage, by continuing their practice, if they don't reach this state of complete liberation, what a loss. Laments Hakuin. So we will take a break here and continue in the next segment. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.